The room was shining like a palace. Golden lights, crystal glasses, soft music. Rich guests were laughing, taking selfies, and praising the host. In the center of the living room stood Sophie Carter. Perfect hair, expensive dress, fake smile. Beside the dining table, a woman in a simple uniform was quietly picking up used plates. Her name was Grace. She was the cleaner. Suddenly, a guest bumped into Grace, and a glass slipped from her shaking hand. It fell. Crash. The whole room went silent. All eyes turned to the broken glass on the floor. Sophie's face changed. From fake sweet to pure anger. Sophie, in a loud voice, "Can't you do even one simple thing right?" Grace, scared. I'm so sorry, madam. My hand." Sophie cut her off. Sophie, even louder so everyone could hear. "Of course. What can we expect? She's just trash. Trash should stay in the back, not near my guests." The guests looked away. Some were shocked. Some were pretending they didn't see anything. Grace's hands shook. Her eyes filled with tears. She slowly bent down to pick the broken glass. Sophie rolled her eyes. "Sophie, move faster. You're making my house dirty just by standing there." The room was quiet again. And then, the doorbell rang. Sophie fixed her hair, changed her face to a happy smile, and said, "That must be our special guest. Everyone, he's a very important man." Grace wiped her tears with the back of her hand. She whispered to herself, "Not tonight. Please, not like this." Because in a few seconds, Sophie's biggest secret was going to be exposed. Right there, in front of everyone. If you were standing in that room, whose side would you be on? The party was in full swing. Soft piano music. Expensive perfume in the air. Waiters moving fast. Guests with glittering jewelry. Sophie walked around the room, her heels clicking on the marble floor. Sophie, smiling at her friends. "Please enjoy. The food is from the best chef in the city. Only the best for my guests." She laughed loudly, trying to sound important. Near the table, Grace was arranging the dessert. Her hands were gentle but tired. She had been working since morning. Her back hurt. Her feet hurt. But she needed this job. She thought, just a few more hours. "Grace, you can do it." Then, one of the rich ladies, Mia, called out. "Mia, excuse me, cleaner. The napkins are not folded properly." Grace quickly walked over. "Grace, I'm sorry, madam. I will fix it right now." She carefully started refolding the napkins. Sophie saw her and frowned. Sophie, whispering to Mia but loud enough. "I told the agency I want professional staff. Look at her. So slow." Mia smirked. "Mia, yes, these people don't understand class." They laughed while Grace stood there, pretending she didn't hear. But she heard every word. Her heart felt heavy. Then came the broken glass moment. The guest bumped her arm. The glass fell. Sophie's face turned red with anger. "Sophie, are you blind? Do you know how expensive that glass was?" "Grace, I'm sorry, madam, it slipped." Sophie shouted. "Stop talking. You're making excuses. People like you are the reason houses look cheap." She pointed at Grace like she was pointing at dirt. "Sophie, everyone, please ignore her. She's trash. I don't know why the agency sent her today." Some guests looked uncomfortable. One older guest, Mr. Daniel, who had just entered the room from the balcony, frowned slightly, watching quietly. He didn't say anything yet. Grace's eyes filled with tears, but she kept her head down. She started picking up the glass. Her hand was shaking so much that a small piece cut her finger. A drop of blood fell on the floor. She quickly hid her hand behind her apron. Not because of the pain, but because of the shame. Inside her heart, she thought, "I helped this woman once, and now she calls me trash." Just then, ding dong, the doorbell rang again. Sophie suddenly smiled, wiped her fake anger away, and fixed her lipstick in the reflection of the window. "Sophie, that must be him. Everyone, Our main guest is here. You will be impressed. She turned to Grace and hissed softly. Stay in the kitchen. I don't want important people to see your face. Understand? Grace nodded slowly. But before she could move, a deep, familiar voice came from the doorway. Voice. Grace? Mom. Everyone turned. In the doorway stood a tall man in a suit. It was Ethan, the very important man Sophie had been bragging about. And he had just called the trash cleaner. Mom. The room froze. Sophie's smile disappeared. The guests stared at Grace. Who exactly was she? And what was Sophie hiding? For a moment, time stopped. Grace slowly turned around. Her eyes went wide. Grace, whispering. Ethan? You're here. Ethan walked straight past Sophie. He didn't even look at the decorations or the guests. He went directly to Grace. Ethan, with worry in his voice. Mom, why are your hands shaking? And why are there tears in your eyes? The word Mom echoed in the room. Whispers started. Did he say Mom? The cleaner is his mother. Isn't he the owner of that big tech company? Sophie's heart started pounding. Her face turned pale. Sophie stammered. Ethan, you know her. Ethan finally looked at her. His eyes were cold. Ethan, know her? She raised me. She is the reason I am standing here today. He gently took Grace's injured hand. Ethan, you're hurt. Who spoke to you badly? Tell me. Grace tried to pull her hand back. Grace, softly. No, it's okay. It was my mistake. I dropped a glass. Ethan looked around slowly. His eyes stopped on Sophie. Ethan, who called you trash? Sophie laughed nervously. Sophie. Ethan, please. It was just a silly joke. Don't take it seriously. You know how parties are. He didn't smile. The guest's eyes moved between them. If you were there, what would you do? Would you stay quiet? Or speak up? Flashback, years ago. The narrator's voice softens. A small, old apartment. Peeling paint. Small kitchen. 2 cups. 1 broken chair. A young woman, holding a small bag, stands at the door. Her clothes are simple. Her shoes are worn out. That woman is young Sophie. She is not rich yet. She is shivering. Sophie, in the past. Please, I have nowhere to go. They kicked me out of my room. I have no money. Grace, younger but with the same kind eyes, looked at her with concern. Grace, you were my neighbor's daughter, right? Come inside. You can stay here for tonight. Sophie, I'll find work soon. I promise. I just need a few days. Grace gave her a blanket. Grace, you don't need to promise. Just try your best. I work as a cleaner in some rich houses. I can ask if they have work for you too. Sophie looked around the tiny flat. She noticed there was only 1 bed. Sophie, where will you sleep? Grace smiled. Grace, don't worry about me. You sleep. You look more tired than me. That night, Grace slept on the floor. Sophie slept on the bed. Days passed. Grace took Sophie with her to work. They cleaned rich people's homes together. Young Sophie, mopping the floor. I hate this. One day I will be rich. I won't clean anyone's mess. Grace, there is no shame in cleaning. Work is work. What matters is the heart. Sophie didn't really listen. Then, one day, Sophie met James Carter, a rich businessman, in one of those houses. He liked her. Soon, they got married. Before the wedding, Sophie cried in Grace's small kitchen. Sophie, Grace, I'm scared. What if his family finds out I used to clean houses? They will never accept me. Grace put a hand on her shoulder. Grace, listen. If they love you, they will accept your past. Don't be ashamed of hard work. Sophie sniffed. Sophie, I'm sorry I can't invite you to the wedding. It's very private and, you know. She looked down at Grace's old clothes. Grace smiled, hiding her hurt. Grace, it's okay. I will pray that you stay happy. That is enough. Sophie promised something that day. Sophie, I will never forget what you did for me. You saved me. You're like family. I owe you my life. But in the present, she had just called the same woman trash in front of everyone. Back to the party, present time. Ethan's voice cut through the silence. Ethan. Mom, why didn't you tell me you were working here? Grace sighed. Grace, I didn't want to create a scene. I just needed some extra money. And I thought, maybe she needed help. Sophie looked down. Ethan turned to the guests. Ethan. Everyone. I want to tell you something about this cleaner you just saw being insulted. Guests looked up, interested. Mia whispered to another lady. This is getting interesting. Ethan continued. When I was a child, my father left. My mother cleaned houses to feed me, pay my school fees, buy my books. Some rich people shouted at her, insulted her, like she was nothing. He glanced at Sophie. Ethan. Today she was insulted again. But this time, in a house where she once gave shelter to someone in need. Gasps filled the room. Someone whispered. What does he mean? Shelter? To whom? Ethan looked straight at Sophie. Ethan. Do you want to tell them, Sophie? Or should I? Sophie's lips trembled. Sophie. Ethan. Please don't. But the truth was already breaking out. The cliffhanger hung in the air. What was Sophie hiding? And how bad would the karma be? Ethan took a deep breath. Ethan. Fine. I'll say it. He turned to the guests. Ethan. Many years ago, before she married Mr. Carter, Sophie had no house, no money, no family that wanted her. She was thrown out of her room. Guests stared at Sophie in shock. Sophie shook her head slightly. Ethan. Stop. Please. He continued. Ethan. She knocked on my mother's door, crying. My mother gave her a bed, gave her food, took her with her to work. They cleaned houses together. My mother helped her survive. He pointed gently at Grace. Ethan. She was not trash then. She was family to Sophie. Sophie's legs felt weak. She grabbed the back of a chair to stay standing. One guest asked, Is this true, Sophie? Sophie opened her mouth, but no words came. Her mind ran back to the tiny room, the blanket, the warm tea Grace had given her. Another guest. I can't believe it. She used to be a cleaner. Mia, who had been laughing with Sophie earlier, now moved a little away from her. The air changed. Respect moved across the room. But not toward Sophie. Toward Grace. Grace stood there, tears falling silently. She never wanted this. She never wanted Sophie to be exposed like this. Grace. Softly. Ethan. That's enough. I don't want to hurt her. I just want to work and go home. Ethan shook his head. Ethan. No, Mom. People need to know what happens when you forget the hands that helped you stand up. He looked at Sophie. Ethan. You called her trash in front of everyone. But the truth is, without her, you wouldn't even be standing in this house today. Silence. Then, another voice spoke. It was Mr. Carter, Sophie's husband. He had been standing at the staircase, listening. Mr. Carter. Slowly. Sophie, is this true? Sophie wiped her tears. Her voice was tiny now. Sophie. Yes. It's true. She finally broke down. Sophie fell to her knees on the shiny marble floor, in front of the woman she had called trash. Sophie. Crying. I'm sorry, Grace. I was scared people would look down on me if they knew my past. I forgot who stood with me when I had nothing. I was ashamed of being poor. So I tried to act rich. I tried to forget you. Grace's hands shook. She had dreamed of this moment many times. Not of Sophie kneeling, but of Sophie remembering. Mr. Carter looked shocked and disappointed. Mr. Carter. You always told me you built your life alone. You said no one helped you. You lied, Sophie. Not just to me, but to yourself. The guests watched with mixed feelings. Some felt angry at Sophie. Some felt sorry for her. Ethan turned to the guests. Ethan, tonight you all saw something. A rich woman calling a cleaner trash. But now you know the truth. The cleaner has more honor in her little finger than some people have in their whole body. He took his mother's bag from the corner. Ethan. Mom. You're not working here anymore. You don't need this job. I never wanted you to clean again. I make enough. You deserve rest and respect. Grace's eyes filled with fresh tears. Grace. But the extra money. Ethan smiled. Ethan. I'll give you extra hugs instead. And maybe a vacation. Some guests chuckled softly. Mr. Carter walked toward Grace. Mr. Carter. Grace. I'm sorry for what happened in my house. If you agree, this home's doors are always open for you. Not as a cleaner, but as an honored guest. Grace looked at Sophie, still on her knees. Sophie's mascara was running. Her dress, worth thousands, didn't make her look powerful anymore. She looked small. Sophie. Grace. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I'm begging you. Please, don't hate me. Grace took a long breath. Her voice was weak but gentle. Grace. I don't hate you, Sophie. But I am very hurt. You were ashamed of your past. But I was never ashamed of mine. She looked straight into Sophie's eyes. Grace. I cleaned houses. I worked hard. I raised a good son. That is not trash. That is something I am proud of. Sophie closed her eyes as fresh tears fell. Those words hit her harder than any slap. That was her karma. The party was no longer a party. Some guests quietly came forward and spoke to Grace. One lady. I'm sorry for staying quiet when she insulted you. I should have said something. Another guest. My mother was a maid too. I feel ashamed I didn't stand up for you. Grace gave them a small, tired smile. Grace. It's okay. Next time. Speak. Not for me. For anyone who is treated like this. Ethan helped Grace to the door. Before leaving, she turned one last time. Grace. To Sophie. I forgive you, but I hope you learn from this. Never forget the hands that held you when you fell. And never, ever call any human trash again. Sophie nodded, crying silently. Ethan and Grace walked out of the house. No music. No clapping. Just a heavy silence. Sophie stood in the middle of her beautiful living room, surrounded by expensive things, feeling completely empty. She whispered to herself. I had everything, but I lost my heart. Narrator. To the viewer. Sometimes, people forget where they came from. They forget the nights they cried, the hands that helped them, the small rooms where they once slept. Money can change your house, but it should never change your heart. If you were in that room when Sophie called Grace trash, would you stay silent, or would you speak up? Remember this. No job is small. No human is trash. Respect the people who clean your mess. Because without them, your perfect life would be buried in your own dirt. The real richness is in how you treat others. Thinking,